What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Opposites Attract podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, and I'm sitting here with my hot, amazing husband,
Miguel Ramirez. Are you going to start every podcast with my hot, amazing husband?
Last time you were just amazing.
Oh, so now I'm hot and amazing.
Hot. Yes.
Thanks, babe. Thanks. So anyway, my wife and I haven't really talked to each other in the last week, right?
Right.
Every time we start talking about something, we're like, save it for the podcast. Because then we're not going to have anything to talk about. And then it's not going to be natural. And we start saying something and then we stop. Save it for the podcast.
So you guys are going to hear a whole bunch of arguing.
Yeah. We're going to sort it all out in the next half hour, 45 minutes, or whatever this is going to be.
All right.
And so, welcome to episode 2. We're back.
Yeah. So you're probably asking, don't you guys have 2 kids and 2 dogs? And where are they at? It's kind of quiet in there.
Yeah, we got them locked upstairs in the bedroom. We threw some treats on the floor, gave them some Benadryl and a tablet. And they're fending for themselves right now.
Right.
We told them, if you want some ice cream later, you need to stay upstairs for a little while.
Right.
While we get this done.
So we're sitting in our kitchen.
Yeah. In the dining room. That is where we have our studio/podcast setup.
Right.
But,
And Miguel's wearing the same shirt as last time.
yeah, it's washed. It's fine. It doesn't smell.
So what are we going to do if the doorbell rings?
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll disconnect it while we do our podcast.
Good idea.
So, anyway, yeah, that's... So, we thought maybe this week what we could do is kind of go over our background. Like, go a little bit into, like, where you grew up and how you grew up. And we can kind of get into my background a little bit so that you guys learn a little bit more about us. And then as the podcasts go on, we can interact a little bit more with you guys. And we can kind of discuss some topics that you guys want to hear about or questions that you have. And we can kind of get into that. What do you think?
Sounds like you want to air out all my dirt.
Well, you're going to air it all out first. And we'll see if we get to me. Anyway,
I'm first?
Yeah.
What?
So you can let us know. Let us know a little bit about you.
Well.
So my name is Sonja.
Hi. I grew up on the south side. What?
South side of what?
Southside Phoenix. That's right. I got to remember that this podcast
There's people listening all over the Phoenix.
You're a jerk.
No, we'll have a few people listening around the country.
Yeah.
Maybe around the world someday. So.
Well, I feel that it's important for them to know us because I feel that a lot of things that we grew up,
our experiences.
Yeah. What make us who we are today. So anyways, I grew up here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a native. Grew up with a single mom. Married for 17 years and then divorced shortly after. I am the middle child, which explains a lot.
Yeah.
And, growing up with a single mom, witnessing all the struggles, all the heartache. And this is kind of difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
It
wasn't all bad.
It wasn't. I mean, my mom she's a fighter. She's truly amazing. I mean, she worked 2-3 jobs at times to keep food on the table and to keep us fed. And I learned a lot of what not to do from her. I don't remember much of my dad. I don't know why that is, but it seemed after the divorce that he wasn't really around much.
Yeah. Did you get like hustle from your mom? Is that something you saw in her?
I never thought about that until recently, and it's funny that you just brought that up because I was talking to her about it last week. I mean, she was selling Avon, working 2 jobs.
Your mom's always selling Avon,
right?
She is a pusher.
She is.
Yeah. Take a look at my book.
I know. Like
Fill something out before you leave.
You're not leaving the house until.
Man,
you're right about that. So I did get my hustle from my mom. She's a hard worker, doesn't give up. Even when it got hard, she pushed through. She had her first child when she was 13. I mean, my sister. Yeah. And
that was Lorraine?
Yeah, that was Lorraine. You're doing your name dropping.
Well, it's your sister. It's not like it's a bad thing.
And so, just there wasn't much security. We moved around a lot, from house to house at times.
Yeah.
Grew up in the projects, so keep it cool. Don't make that gangsta come out, I'm a little bit of hippie I'll say a little bit of hood and a whole lot of hippie. It's a great combination to have.
Now.
Now.
The hood comes out sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, don't make it. Let's keep that under. No.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it was, we had everything we needed.
How was your school experience? Like elementary school?
I liked school. I mean, and I've always, that was one of my main focuses. I remember
You were good in school?
I was good in school. I wasn't the, sharpest pencil in the box. I had to work. I'm not like you're the total opposite. You're just a smarty pants. Me, I had to work for my grades. You are. I had to work for my grades. I had to study. I had to.
But you got good grades.
But I got good grades. And I don't know if it was because I was scared of my mom. Because my mom's little, but she's got a loud ass bark.
Yeah.
No, I know what it was.
I could see her getting fed up and whooping some ass.
Oh,
too.
no, totally.
Throwing something.
No, if she had to grab a broom.
Yeah.
Or a fly swatter. If things were the way they are today, we may have been in, part of the system.
Yeah.
I have a brother as well. So there's 3 girls and 1 boy. I think a lot where the hustle came is because I grew up, witnessing my mom's struggles. And I remember at the age of 9 making a decision that I was going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes so that I didn't grow up or I didn't
struggle. So you wouldn't have to struggle. Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did.
So with school, was high school similar to elementary school and junior high school? Did you still have like the focus and the good grades and all that?
I did. I was lonely though, because a lot of my friends were out there having fun. They were experimenting life. And I was focused on my books. I mean, I had some fun, but I didn't get into drugs. I didn't get into, we didn't have our first kid till, I was 31. A lot of my friends were out there. They were having kids and just doing the things that young people do. And I did some of it.
Phoenix,
I did some of it, but I was responsible. I'd get into shit, but I was just more responsible about it.
And you had to help a lot with your brother, right?
I did because my mom was always at work, and so. Did
that keep you from wanting to have kids till you got older, or?
I have to give that more thought because my sister had kids young as well, and they were like my baby dolls. I would love just taking care of them and caring for them and babysitting and just spoiling them. I always loved kids. I always enjoyed kids, but it was witnessing the struggle with kids, being a single mom with kids that made me not want to have kids and seeing the hurt that my mom went through. Like, if love equals this or if marriage equals a divorce, I don't want no part of it. So that's why I just, didn't want the whole marriage thing, which I didn't even talk about that, but I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to have kids. I was like, that song from Destiny's Child, Independent. This house, I bought it. This car, I bought it. This ring, I bought it.
That was
totally
all
me.
You.
Yeah, I had
when
a
I first
huge,
met you, that was all you.
Huge ego, lots of pride, know.
So was it that you didn't want kids or you didn't want kids until you were ready? Or marriage or any of that?
I didn't want any of it. I was so selfish. Like, now I can see it.
Well, the examples that you had of people with kids weren't probably the best example. I mean, because they were struggling too. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
if you saw people that had kids and kind of had them at a better time, then maybe it would have been different. Maybe you would have thought about it different.
Right.
But you didn't have those examples around.
Not that I can remember. Because a lot of my aunts as well, like, I thought that all the couples around me were going to be married forever. Like my uncle and my aunts. And it was just one divorce after another, deceit.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't.
How were your relationships growing up? How was it when you started? Did you have long relationships? I mean, I know you've told me about a few of them, but were they mostly short relationships, or how did that go? You can spare me the details, okay? But, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they were lengthy. I mean, my first relationship was 3 years. And
how old were you?
15.
Okay. I mean, that's about an average time to start. No.
I was 14.
Right? Yeah, around there.
But I don't know. I just never loved 100%. I just never loved 100%. They always loved me more. And this is hard for me to throw out. Like, you're really digging here.
Well, that's what we're doing.
Like, I was a cheater.
You weren't
played
committed.
Safe. I wasn't committed. No.
You're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Exactly.
But you were young, so that's, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Most relationships don't start at 15 and end at, when you're dead. That's not how, I mean, realistically, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
For most people.
Well, I don't feel that I grew up, when we're talking about love and commitment, like, just to be straight and honest and truthful, like, I didn't gain that until I met you. And even at the beginning, I still didn't trust me.
Yeah.
Because it was so hard to love 100%, because then that meant I was leaving myself open for vulnerability to be hurt.
Yeah.
If things went sideways.
Yeah, it took a while. Yep.
There's so much more, but this is hard.
Well, I mean, we're just kind of getting into it, and I'm sure more will come out as we interact with people, and we'll think of other parts. But I mean, this is just kind of an overview of our background growing up. What'd you do for work? What was your first job?
Ooh, I was working at the age of 14. So summer jobs. I was out there working in offices. Like, there's low-income families would qualify for, I don't remember what this program was called, but that was so awesome about my mom. She always opened up opportunities for me. When she saw there was an opportunity, she took it. And maybe it was because I would help her pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? But I started working at the age of 14. I remember taking the bus from 40th Street and Thomas and the projects, or McDowell, the projects that we lived in, all the way to downtown Phoenix, and gaining the experience of being a file clerk. A file clerk.
At 14?
Mm-hmm. And being around professionals.
So what was it, like at a courthouse, or?
It was a security. Oh, it's still there today. Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was for Securities Exchange. I don't remember.
So it was like filing documents and stuff like that?
So that's how I learned how to file. And I did some typing, but it was basically like a file clerk.
Yeah.
But that was during the summer. My real job, I was a bagger, and it was so fun because it was right there at IGA by Camelback High, because that's where I went to high school for a year, and all my friends would come in, and it was fun because I love people, being around people, and that job was perfect for me.
Yeah. What was the best job you ever had? Job, not business. The best job you ever had.
Job?
Yeah.
Being, a paralegal. I mean, best. Like, are you talking about money-wise? Or are you talking
like
about
just the fun of the job? Not, I guess, like the memories of that period of your life, but just the fun of the job.
I think it's when I was a lead at Little Caesars.
Really?
Yeah. It was just a whole lot of fun. I mean, a lot of my high school friends would come in, they would have a party, and they're like, it was just...
You'd hook them up?
It wasn't hard work. Yeah.
Give away all the profits?
Right. And I was... and I was leading others. Like,
okay.
And so that was a whole lot of fun, but I didn't realize I was a lead.
Okay. And how old were you?
I don't know. I was a sophomore.
Okay. So you're probably like 15.
Something
like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool. So Little Caesars was the best job you ever had. What are we doing here? You need to go back to Little Caesars.
I don't know. I enjoyed like all, the jobs that I had.
You can come home all dusty
smelling like pizza. It was pretty gross, actually. Yeah.
That's funny.
But it was fun. It was a good experience.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. I'm sure there's a lot of good memories to look back on.
Yeah. But what sucks is I don't have that great of a memory. Like, I got to take myself back a lot and really think about some things. Like, your memory is like on point, it seems.
Yeah,
me, I gotta
remember
dig
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, me, like, I gotta dig deep.
Yeah.
To remember certain things.
So you first started working when you were 14?
14.
Okay.
Yeah.
To help out around the house?
To help out around the house, to help with the bills, all that good stuff. So I don't know. I guess when I look back, there was a lot of good. I just remember like a lot of hurt in the house because when my mom, got a divorce from my dad, that she turned a lot to just,
not
like
good
drinking,
ways to deal with it. Yeah.
Relationships, trying to find that love that she lost.
Yeah. Trying to fill the void.
Empty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Did you want your parents, I would imagine you wanted them to get back together whenever you would see them? Because I know that's how I used to feel.
Yeah. No, I remember at one point, my dad coming and they would be outside talking and you get that hope, that excitement of
like some magic's going to happen.
Right. Like maybe, But what's so weird is that they always had that connection. And I can't really talk about or I'm not ready to talk about, or I don't know if I should talk about like the whole divorce thing because that's very...
Well, we can get into it.
Yeah.
Eventually.
But...
If we get into it, we'll see.
Like they had no choice.
Yeah.
It was either us or them. So.
I got you. So, yeah. So, where I grew up, it wasn't really that bad. Sometimes you think about some of the stuff that happened, and I grew up in New York City, in Queens. And I grew up with my dad. My parents split up when I was a baby. So I don't even have any recollection of them being together. But I grew up with my dad. I would see my mom on the weekends. And I would spend time with that side of the family in the summer a lot of times. So we have family in Spain. So when I was young, especially when I was young, I would spend a lot of summers in Spain. And it was fun. It was a blast. Like some of the best memories I have as a kid are with my cousins in Spain. And that was one of the best things that we did last year was being able to take the kids, thanks to my mom.
Yes.
She took us all to Spain.
I love her.
But it was a surreal experience. Going to the beach, going to the park that I used to play in, the jungle gym. Like, it's all old and run down now. Mm-hmm. But it was cool to see our kids playing where I used to play. Or even in New York, when we went to New York and going to the park in New York and watching the kids playing where I used to play. The monkey bars and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think it's so really cool.
Like, yeah. I don't have that. And I remember watching you, like we went to Spain and just seeing your reaction with the kids and
it was a lot of fun.
It's just really cool. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of great memories there. Even like I wish it'd be super weird to walk into the apartment, but even just to see it, I think it's really cool and creepy for whoever lives there.
So you grew up with your dad?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I live with my dad. And my dad was working a lot. He worked, his shift would change. I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother, a lot. And my grandmother, my grandfather. And that's the majority of my childhood. I remember spending a lot of time with my grandmother, with my dad, and with my mom. But I would leave school in elementary school. My grandfather worked a few blocks away. So I would leave school and I would walk to my grandfather's job. And then he would get out of work maybe, 45 minutes later. And then he would carpool with some people and he would drop them off and I would just ride with them back to my grandmother's house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So growing up with your dad, do you feel that has any kind of... Did it have any kind of influence on you on relationships or just being there? How was that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it definitely had an effect on relationships and, just kind of the way I see things. My dad's been married a few times, and really kind of like you were saying, when I was a little kid and my parents would get together, they would, like I always wanted that magic to happen. I wanted them to get back together. And when you're little, you just don't know. You hope for it, but it's not going to happen. Really, all I wanted was just to be with my dad all the time. He was like my superhero. So I just wanted to be with him all the time. But he's an adult. He's, looking for a relationship or whatever he's got going on. So, that was just what I wanted as a little kid, just to be one-on-one with my dad all the time. And that would have been the coolest for me as a kid growing up.
So you never got that time with your dad?
No, because so my stepmom, they were together for as long as I could remember, as far back as I can remember. So as far back as being a baby, she was there. I love her to death. I love them all to death. They're all great.
So you're not the only child?
No, so I have a half brother and a half sister, but I don't like saying half brother. Even I have a step brother. I don't like saying he's my step brother. He's my half brother.
He's your brother.
They're my brothers. Regardless, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't make a difference either way. The way I see it, anyway.
So did you help with your brothers and your sisters growing up?
So yeah, growing up when I was little, probably about our kids, our daughter's age, maybe a little bit older. My younger brother was born, and I would help out with him, changing diapers and feeding him and all that sort of thing. It used to drive me crazy because all I wanted to do was play video games and play with my friends. And I remember back in the day, we used to take our sweatshirts and wrap them around our heads to look like ninjas. But when I would have to change his diaper, it would smell horrible. So I would get that sweater and wrap it around my face so that I could change his diaper. And then I would have some of my friends growing up, like they would help me.
That's cool.
So it's crazy. Like sometimes I'll talk to some of my friends on Facebook or whatever, and they remember like coming to the house and, helping me with my brothers. And I would go to the park. They would have to go with me. Like they were just, it was, it was an experience. It was different.
Talk to me
go ahead.
A little bit more about, like your dad's like relationships, because that's one thing where we are different. Like I didn't want marriage. I didn't want children, but you, because of the experiences that you went through, like that's all you ever wanted was a family.
Yeah. You know what? I think, growing up, there's a few TV shows that I think people that are around our age, they all watched, right? I think there was like Full House. Everybody watched Full House in those days.
The Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch. I don't think I watched the Brady Bunch. I remember it coming on, but I didn't watch it. I remember Happy Days being on.
Oh, yes.
But the one show that I remember, or that kind of gave me showed me what I wanted, it was kind of weird because it wasn't even really about that, but it was Family Matters. If you remember the show with Steve Urkel and the family. So I just remember like their family, like everybody would get along great. The dad would come home. The mom was, at home with the kids, and like the whole dynamic of the family seemed like perfect. They had their problems and they would work it out. And I always thought, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, I wish I could have something like that, right? And that's what I wanted when I grew up. That's all I wanted. But, like I said, my dad would be working. I would go spend time with my grandmother. Then I would go and spend the weekends with my mom. And it was always something. Going somewhere, doing something. Not that it was bad, but, that's just what I saw on TV.
Yeah. You have a lot of memories. I mean, talk to us about, your first job.
Man.
Talk to us a little bit about your dad. Like, I mean, I know he was a hustler.
Growing up, my dad has hustled in so many different ways, which I've learned from him. I'll try, whatever. But, man, let me see. The earliest memories of... I remember... So he was a black belt in Taekwondo, second place in the world. So he was awesome at that. So I remember him teaching classes in the park to his friends, and I think he used to get paid. He used to teach for money back then. And then at work, what I really remember was at work, he would sell movies. Mm-hmm. They would call him the movie man. And in our house, we had like, I don't know how many VCRs. Like they were all hooked up to each other, and then you would put one tape in, and then you could copy like 6 movies at the same time. And he had this giant bag that he would take with him to work, and he would just sell movies. I mean, anything you wanted. Mm-hmm. Anything. So, yeah. And, like, yeah, he was always hustling. He would sell polo shirts. Like, he would get polo shirts because he worked for the airlines. So, he would go to Ecuador and get polo shirts made. So, like, if you're starting some kind of side business, everybody's doing something. So, if you're starting some kind of side business, you give me your logo. He would take it to Ecuador, and he would get the logos printed on the polo shirts, and then he would take orders from people and sell shirts at work.
And what about you in school and the report cards?
Oh, school was a mess. It was a disaster. But part of that, like what I was saying with him hustling and selling stuff, one time I remember he went to Ecuador and he bought these tops. In Spanish, they're called trompos. Mm-hmm. And you would take this top and it had like a rope, and you tie the rope around it and you throw it and kind of like whip it, and it turns into this top. Or it starts spinning like a top. And he thought they were really cool, and he brought them back, and he brought me like a big bag. I don't know if it was like 50 or 100 of them. And he was like, here, you can sell them to your friends and you can make some money. So like, I mean, I was a little kid, and I was like, all right. And I would go and I would just go outside and play with my top. And then my friends were like, oh, that's cool. I was like, yeah, you want one? Yeah, it's $1 or $2 or whatever. I can't even remember what I used to sell them for, but yeah, sure, here. And I would go upstairs and get them out of the bag and sell them to my friends, and we would all play together, But that was kind of like the beginning. I can't imagine how old I was. Maybe around Joey's age, like about 7 or 8. Probably around Joey, a little bit younger than Audrey. So yeah, probably about 8 years old is when I did that. I don't remember if I sold them all or what happened with I imagine I probably sold them all just so that I can, make the money.
So were the report cards the second gig?
Hey, we can get into the other. You're talking about the fake report cards I used to make?
Yes.
Why put me on the spot?
I know. You ignored it the first time.
Yeah. No, I thought you were trying to get into like my school. So, but yeah. And then as I got older, my grandmother, she used to clean offices in Manhattan. So I used to go with her, and sometimes I would get out of school, go to my grandmother's house, we would grab something to eat, and then we would head into the city and clean office buildings at night. So she had maybe like 3 or 4 floors, maybe more. And then we would split up, and I would go clean one of the offices. She would clean the other offices, and she would come down and check on me. I don't remember homework very much.
No.
There was a lot of office cleaning.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't explain why our toilets don't get cleaned that well when it's your turn.
That's because I've had enough. I've cleaned. By the time I was like 15, I had already cleaned hundreds of toilets.
Yeah. I'm like, you cleaned all around it. What about the inside of the toilet?
No, but you know what? I also have good memories of that. Like cranking up the music because it's late and all the offices are empty. So I remember cranking up the music, and I would just take out the trash and vacuum and do all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of cool. And then once I got older, she like gave me a floor. She's like, whatever we make on this floor, this is yours.
Nice.
So I would collect, and that was my money.
So were you raised by your grandmother as well?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, I was raised a lot by my grandmother. I tell her like she's like my mom. My mom too. I have a lot of moms. You
do. Oh my gosh. I remember when we first met. I was like, wait, what?
I'm pretty lucky.
You are.
Yeah.
Because they're all pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. So, yeah, I mean, I was always hustling. I worked at a nightclub.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
When I was 15, my dad was the manager of a nightclub, so I would probably say that was probably one of the best jobs I've had. It was just so much fun because being 15, you're working at a nightclub in New York with everybody's 21 to, I don't know, 30, 40, whatever, whatever the crowd is at the nightclub. But because my dad was the manager, I hooked up all my friends with a job. So my best friend used to work there. His cousin worked there. We got a bunch, like, I have so many friends that came through that nightclub that we all worked together. And it was fun. It was a lot of work. But man, when you're 15 years old and you're making $300 in a night, $200 in a night, you work Friday, Saturday, you work 2 nights, and you have $400, $500.
You grew up pretty fast as well, though.
Yeah, and we got to see a lot of stuff. And when I was working at the nightclub, I remember they used to have these little glow sticks that people would put in their mouth. So when they're talking, their mouth would light up. So I found this tattoo place that sold those glow sticks. And I remember going in there and I told the guy, because I didn't know where to buy them. And I told the guy, I want to buy, how much do you have? Because I want to buy whatever you have in the shop. And I think he had maybe like 4 boxes, and he was selling them for a couple dollars a piece. And I told him, no, I want a deal because I'm going to buy everything you have. So he gave me a deal for it. I couldn't remember. But then I bought it all. I took it to the nightclub, and I gave the bathroom guy, I don't know if I paid him like a flat rate for him to sell all the glow sticks to the people in the bathroom, or I gave him a cut of whatever we sold. So we did that.
You learned leverage at a very young age.
We also, I think we used to buy empanadas at the end of the night. Everybody's drunk. So we used to buy empanadas and sell them. Just all kinds of different little hustles. When I was in elementary school, I used to sell floppy disks with games on them. I learned how to copy a game, not even the little floppy disk. I'm talking about the ones that like the size of your palm, like a real floppy disk, the ones that you can really,
For the millennials, can you...
You guys have no clue what we're talking about right now.
They don't. They're like, what the heck are they talking about?
Yeah, so these were like the original floppy disk. I think they used to go in the old big-ass Mac computers. Yeah. Where it had like Pong and all that. So I don't even know what the hell I was. I found a box of them, and I was like, screw it. I'm going to see if I can sell these things. And I sold them in elementary school for a couple dollars a piece. Nice. Yeah.
So when did you actually get a real job? What did you do?
Yeah. So my first legit job.
Let's say legal.
My first legit job, I used to work at a library, the Flushing Library in New York, in the kids section, putting away books and babysitting my brother, because it was great that I worked in the children's section, so he could just get dropped off and get babysat by me while I was working. So that's like a 2-for-1, babysit and work and get paid.
I am so thankful. Awesome. I'm so thankful for all the experiences that you've gone through, because that's what makes you an incredible dad. Like, I remember when we had our first kid, I was like, actually, like, I didn't know how to wrap them. You knew how to wrap them. The whole, like, I was so nervous about it.
That's how you keep them from crying.
Right. Like, I was so nervous about it, but you just like took control, man. Loved it. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was fun. I had a lot of good memories with the work, and school wasn't very good. I was horrible at school for the most part throughout my whole school career.
It's just because you're lazy, though. It's not because you didn't know the thing. It's you didn't.
I was a smart kid. I just didn't care. I didn't want to do the work. I remember every year at the end of the school year, my dad would have to have a talk with me. Mm-hmm. And he would tell me, like, look, there is like 3 months left of school. You've been screwing around all year. Now is the time to buckle down and get it done so that you can move into the next year.
And you would get it done.
And I would get it done every year.
And that's why I'm saying, like, I look back and, the opposites that we have. Like, I like school. You didn't like school.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. How did you get into the Air Force?
So when I was in New York, most of my friends...
And why did you get into the Air Force?
So I made a bunch of friends that were a year ahead of me in high school. So when I was in New York, I don't remember there being an Air Force recruiter, but there was a Marine recruiter. I think it was Army, Marines. I don't remember if the Navy was there, but me and a bunch of my friends, we went to the Marine recruiter. And yeah, we had talked to him. I don't know if we took like the pre-test or whatever. Sergeant Yu was the name of the recruiter. Yeah, the Asian dude. But yeah, so they were all a year ahead of me in school, and they graduated and left to boot camp. Now, my senior year of high school, before my senior year started, I left Florida. And I left New York and I moved to Florida with my mom. Because at that point, I wasn't really getting into trouble, but I just wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing anything in school. I had started cutting class and just partying during the day and hanging out. I don't think I had really been going to class a full day. And I definitely wasn't on the path to graduating. So I ended up leaving and moving to Florida. I guess, just to kind of give me a fresh start. And the first year in Florida, I guess it kind of took me a little bit to get adapted from like the New York lifestyle and, school there to the Florida laid back.
It was a different experience.
It was weird. It was weird seeing people with flip-flops and like they would go to school in flip-flops and board shorts looking like they were going to go surfing.
And what were you wearing?
I'm wearing, sneakers and jeans. They're looking at me like I'm dressed up.
Right.
Like they're wearing tank tops. Like seriously, they look like they're going to the beach.
Yeah.
But yeah. So but I was still, I knew that I had to do something different. But I don't know, like I wasn't gonna just like flip the switch just all of a sudden. But I was trying to do better. So yeah, so I moved to Florida, and my friends in New York, they were already in boot camp in the Marines. Like they were probably graduating boot camp, and they were going through their school. And when I was in Florida, I have my aunt or my uncle. He's an E9 in the Air Force, a chief master sergeant. And he was asking me, he's like, well, before you join the Air Force, he's like, before you join the Marines, because I already had my mind made up. I'm going with my friends.
Right.
He said, let me take you and show you around the Air Force base, because there was a base nearby. He's like, let me show you around the base, and before you make your final decision, you can check it out and see what you think. So not really knowing, if you don't know in the military what a E9 is, that is the highest enlisted rank that you can be. When an E9 walks around, like, you show some respect. And I had no idea, because I wasn't it. So he showed me around. I thought it was super cool. And then there was the base, Patrick Air Force Base. One of the very big popular surf spots is at the main gate. Like, people would say, hey, we're going to go surfing at the main gate. So you just go across the street from the main gate is the beach, and people would go surfing there. So one day I was hanging out, and 2 fighter jets flew over and landed at the base. And then I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, he showed me the base. Like, this is pretty cool. I was like, it would be awesome to work on those jets. I was like, and obviously the Air Force, it's the Air Force. I can definitely do it if I get in, if I'm good enough. So I'm going to go find out. And I went and talked to the recruiter, and he's like, yeah, we're looking for fighter jet mechanics right now.
Nice.
So I took the test, and I qualified for a bunch of other stuff, but I didn't care. I was like,
right.
Did I qualify for that? He's like, yeah. I was like, sign me up. And that was it.
In order to get into the Air Force, you do have to be pretty smart, right? Like, there's a test.
Yeah. There's every branch has their thing, know. And yeah, so I joined the Air Force, and 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I was gone. The other thing is that I had talked to my friend, my best friend in the Marines, and I remember specifically him telling me that he was going through training, and I was talking to him on the phone. I went to his graduation. For boot camp. I think I left high school, and I went up with his family from Florida to go watch his graduation. But I remember calling him, and he told me one day, I was like, what'd you do today? And he was like, man, I got stuck with the tallest dude in my platoon, and he's probably one of the shortest dudes in his platoon.
Yeah.
He's like, I had to dig a hole for him so that just his head would stick out of the hole, and he had to dig a hole for me. Which is not fair, because he's the shortest. The other dude was like the tallest. And I was like, and then what? He's like, and then we filled him back up. I was like, that sounds like it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be digging holes for no reason and filling them up. I didn't know any better. Like, there's reasons that the Marines do what they do. But, at that point, I was like, you know what? I want to, like, those jets are badass, and I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. So I left.
And you got in. And so you were stationed here in Arizona at Air Force Base.
Yeah, I got stationed here. I was here for about stationed for about 4 years, and then I met you.
Yeah,
I met you while I was with my ex, but I was in the military at that time.
Okay, now you're gonna have to clear that up because they're like, wait, you met her when you you just opened up.
So yeah, speaking about
That's like
our hustling ways,
right?
So yeah, I joined a multi-level business, a network marketing business, while I was in the military, and I went to the presentation, and that's where I met you.
Yep, and I hooked you like a fish.
Yeah. So, but yeah, at that point, I was still in, and I was with my ex at the time, and eventually later on down the road, we split up, and we ran into each other again once we had split, and we started talking.
It was fate.
Yeah.
I say, God put us together. He's like, yeah, whatever.
There's that magical stuff again.
It really was when you think about it. I mean, he did write a song about the...
Yeah.
That
was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. We
Maybe one day we'll put it up. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, right? So that's a little bit about our backgrounds.
So why do you feel it was so important to share our backgrounds with them?
Well, just because, people are going to be listening to us, and they may not know, where we came from, why we see certain things in certain ways. And I'm sure when we're talking about stuff, we'll reference back to the way we grew up, because it has to do, like, everything that we are now has to do with, how we were raised, or, experience. Those are all experiences, and all those experiences add up to who we are now.
Yep.
And then we transfer all that into our kids.
Right.
And
so that's why
a disaster.
They're a beautiful disaster.
No. Yeah, they are.
But that's just being able to reflect, on the things that we need to get better at.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
How to change our legacy.
Yep. So
very cool. So listening to ourselves, our first podcast, I just had to share with everyone. It was pretty weird, right?
Yeah, it was weird. It was our first podcast.
Yeah, and this is our second.
We're learning.
Ooh.
And you know what? I think this is the time where we should just tell people what we're trying to do with this podcast.
Yes.
Eventually, this podcast is going to turn into a cult.
I had to step away from the mic because I'm going to laugh so loud.
We were going in a different direction. This is going to be a cult, is what we're starting. We're going to get a bunch of followers, drink the Kool-Aid.
I've drank some Kool-Aid before, so it's all good.
No, I'm just kidding. But, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. No, but I'm excited.
So the couple podcasts are going to be kind of slow, just the introduction and then introducing ourselves. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty of exactly why we're doing what we're doing.
And part of that is going to come from you guys that are listening, just interacting, joining the Facebook page and the Facebook group. And if you guys got something going on, you can let us know, and we can kind of talk about it and answer questions. And, as we go through different things throughout the week in our life, we'll be talking about that here too, and it's going to have to do with all kinds of different things, whether it's leadership or whatever. One thing I was going to ask you is where, like, your focus now, your focus, like, you've been focused, you say all the time, on helping people is what you want to do.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
I have always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to make a difference. But it's just us, being together, the challenges that we've gone through, and really just being more present in life, meeting people and listening to what they're going through. Society today, I see there's a lot of people that are unhappy. They're not connected. They don't.
So, like, helping people, because you've done a lot of different things. Like, you've spoken to the girls next door. We had a group home next door to our house and you spoke to those girls there. You go and speak to the boys at the other group home. I mean, you do all kinds of different things.
It all started.
But you focus on helping other people.
Right. And it all started when I started to get closer to God. And I know I know that you're like, oh, okay, here we go. But the truth is, that's what happened. Like, and this is getting into another podcast, but just recognizing what I was feeling and seeing what you were going through, just us being together and trying to figure out how to fix us. You know, like, because we were going through some things and we're going to get into that later on. But I started working on me. I started to slow down. I started to be more present. I started meditating. I started praying. And that's when everything started to change. Like, that's when I started recognizing who I really was.
What you wanted to do.
Yes. And so I don't want to get too much into it because that's going to be a different podcast. But
yeah, we can get into it.
When we took in my sister's children, and there was a point in my life where I didn't know if
those were actually like the first real kind of children that you had.
Yes. And so going through those challenges, and that's something we'll get into another podcast, but that's when I really got to know God. The experiences, the testimonials, the things that I'm going to share later on helped me to really get to know God. And in return, I got to know myself.
Yeah.
And then that's when doors just started to open once I started to recognize.
So at this point, I think we've wrapped up episode 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so you guys have had a chance to get to know us a little bit.
And this little more bit about serious our background. Side. A little more serious, because this was like really...
Yeah, no, they're not all going to be like this.
You're not going to be laughing.
Yeah, so at this point, our podcast should be available everywhere. We've been approved by iTunes. It's on Google Play. It's on Stitcher. It's on Spotify. It's on TuneIn. It should be on all the Android apps. And if for some reason you guys out there can't get the podcast or you can't find it, let us know. You can join our Facebook page, Opposites Attract Podcast. And if you go to our Facebook page, there's also a Facebook group that's attached to that page. And the group, I think, is probably the best way to interact with us, to ask questions. You can leave reviews on the Facebook page, but the group is where everybody will interact. We also have our Twitter and our Instagram. They're all at Opposite Pod. And our email is oppositepod@gmail.com. So if you want to send us an email, you can send us an email there. And like last week, our podcast is sponsored by TrustIncUSA.com. And that's our business that we sponsor ourselves for now until we get more sponsors. But it's TrustIncUSA.com. And on TrustInc.com, you want to let them know what they can find on Trust Inc?
Sure. We are a mobile notary service as well as certified signing agent. We are nationwide.
So we can find notaries everywhere.
Everywhere. And if you are a notary that would like to contract with us, you can also send us an email. Let us know what your experience is, and we can look into that as well.
So if you're a notary looking for work,
yes, sir,
then maybe we can hook you up.
We are also independent associates with Legal Shield, which we provide affordable legal services, not only here in Arizona, but in all 50 states and including Canada as well.
All right. And you can find all that at TrustIncUSA.com.
Yes.
That's TrustIncUSA.com. So I think that's it.
That is it.
Episode 2 in the books.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and to listening. There's going to be a lot more laughter and...
And as far as the podcast go, we'll be doing them once a week for now, and then we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll up that, yes. But for the time being, once a week. And we are also looking to hear from you. So on our Facebook group, please interact with us. If there's something that you would like us to talk about, something for us to mention, maybe you're going through something yourself in a relationship or in parenting, we are open to hear We're not experts, but we'll give you our experience.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.